Hey guys, it is Stephanie with Festive Creations by Stephanie, where we inspire and mentor others as well as design beautiful things for your home like this one. This tutorial will show you how to make this gorgeous little planter. Also, don't forget to go back and subscribe to our channel on YouTube, Festive Creations by Stephanie, and like us on Facebook, Festive Creations by Stephanie. You can also visit our website at festivecreationsbystefanie.com. Let's get started on your tutorial. All right, the first thing that we're going to do is make our bow, and we are going to put a few tails on here, but I don't want my tails taking away too much from the planter itself, so we're going to make those about 4-inch tails. Actually, I'm going to cut off this edge that has the crimp in it, and today I'm going to be using the bowdabra. So beginning with my 4-inch tails, I'm going to slide that in there, make a little twist. I'm going to make a 4-inch loop and twist. Twist again, and we're going to make 4 loops this size. I'm going to turn that pretty side up, and this one's going to go pretty side up. So right now we have a little bow, pretty side up, all the pretty sides are up. Let's go on with our next ribbon, and for this one we're going to use the shimmering black. Going to make our tails about the same size, except our loops are just going to be a little bit shorter than the first loops. So you see how I'm coming in just a small, maybe 1/2 inch the most. And we're just going to do 1 loop on each side for that one. So now we have 3 loops here, 3 loops here. Let's go to our white. And again, I'm going to make the tail about the same length. Not going to stress out too much about the tail because we can always make it shorter if we get it too long. So again, I'm going to go in just a little bit shorter than the loop before, and we're going to do 2 loops of that one. And that's it. Our bow is done. I'm going to take a wire, floral wire, and wrap that around here. So because this is going to go into a piece of styrofoam in the end, I'm actually going to use my heavier gauge wire. There it is. I'm going to use the 22-inch gauge. I don't recommend this very often, but I need the sturdiness of the 22. And the reason I don't recommend 22 gauge is because it makes it more challenging for you to tie your bow off. The 26 gauge actually is the preferred weight. So while holding all three of these together, I'm going to twist my wire in the back. Twist. And now we have our bow. We'll mess with getting the tails and everything else in place here once we get it locked into place on the centerpiece. But you can possibly tell that this wire is much stiffer than the 26 gauge. And as I said, I'm going to need that so that I can put it down into the vase itself, because we're going to be going into the styrofoam. All right, let's get started on the design itself. I am in a red and black mode. I picked up these cute little pair. It's a planter of boots. Let me zoom in a little bit for you. Actually, I think I got these at the at-home store. I did. And we're going to make a centerpiece out of these. So let's get started. We're going to be using some red roses, some miniature roses, some white roses, some white filler. I may throw some other colors in here too as well, but we'll be using those. I'm also going to make a bow using these three colors. So I have kind of a shiny, glittery black, a white, and the red and black polka dot. So let's get started. All right, for this we are going to need some styrofoam, and you're going to want to use the floral foam, not the, this is a little more sturdier than the foam that's kind of cushy. So you can tell it's more like styrofoam. It doesn't indent well, you can't push in on it. So I recommend using this foam. To cut the foam, we're going to use a serrated knife. And I've cut a small piece off of my larger piece, and you can see that I've fit it very, very snug in here. So we want this to fit snug because in the end we don't want it to shift around. But before I cut off the height of this, I'm actually going to measure this a little bit and cut that down. There is a tool you can get for this, however, it's a burning tool. I just use my serrated knife. Now, because of the way that the planter is indented, I'm actually going to notch out a little here in the center. Find my center mark. And we're just going to notch a little bit of this out. So I've made a V shape here. So I've just notched a little V shape out of that. Now when you're cutting your foam, less is more. So if we need to go back and cut more, I'm good. I'm actually going to cut now a V shape on this side. It's a lot easier to take a little bit of time off than it is to try and add some on later. the way that is, I'm going to notch out a little bit more on the other side. And I'm going to make this a little narrow towards the bottom. This is the hardest part, guys, is getting the foam to fit snugly, but not too snug in this case, since we're dealing with a piece of ceramic. Clearly, I do not want to cut this or break the ceramic. Just take your time. Don't get in a big rush trying to get the foam cut down. Oh, much better. Now, I want to be able to put some pressure in there because I do not want this to shift once I get it in there. But I don't want it to be at the very top of the rim of my base. So I want it to set a little bit below the rim of my base. I think just a little bit more. Oh, that's perfect. All right, so now I'm going to be able to push it down so that you cannot see it, and it's sitting about a ½ an inch from the top of the rim of the vase. Perfect. That's exactly where I want it. It's not shifting in there. It's not going anywhere. It's snug as a bug in a rug. All right, let's move on to the next part. All right, let's go ahead and start adding some flowers. So these rose stems came from Hobby Lobby. We're going to cut a few of these at the longest height. So we want 3 taller ones. And I'm going to take the tallest of the 3 and I'm going to add it right to the center. Before I do, I'm going to add a little bit of spot to glue there. Now, depending on the florals that you use, you may or may not be able to get them to go down into the styrofoam. Sometimes the wires in the stems are very flimsy. The roses that we're using today are not. They're pretty sturdy. And I'm going to bring this one down just a little bit lower than the first one. You know what? I probably shouldn't have wore a red shirt for this. So we're going to bring these 2 down just a tad bit lower than the first 2, or the first one. So this one's standing taller. These are a little bit shorter. And I've just poked them down into that styrofoam. Now, depending on what design you're using, you may want to cover this with some foam or moss. But for today's design, I already know that we're going to be able to fill this up quite nicely without having to see the styrofoam when we get done. So let's add some white roses. I'm going to cut them kind of long because we can shorten them up later if we need to. And for the white ones, I'm going to bring those down just a little bit lower yet. all the way around. Now we do have a few rose buds. We're going to integrate some of those in there. They're not an open rose. The nice thing about this is there are no rules. The only real rule of thumb is you try to work in sets of 3, odd numbers. So right now we have 3 of the open buds, 3 of the closed buds. We do have 4 of the open white buds of roses. However, I plan on integrating a little bit more in there. Just trying to decide where I want to put them. So right now we have 4. We're going to add a couple of more. And I'm going to bring that one down just a little bit lower yet. Going to bring him off to the side a little, and we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. For these, I'm leaving my greenery on there, my leaves, because that acts as a filler as well. That is filling in very, very nicely. All right, now we're going to move over to this miniature rose bush, and we're actually going to be using this more of a filler. So it's going to fill in some of the gaps, and I have some just greenery. We're definitely going to use that. The different stems. Let's see how far this gets us. So I'm going to use the taller one more towards the center. And what's nice about this is going to be a beautiful arrangement from any direction. Now I went a little bit shorter with that one in the back. Another thing too, guys, is I don't recommend going straight up and down into the foam. Go in at a little bit of an angle so that you can give your design a little more depth. So placement is, I'm just placing these strategically apart. I'm going to take these these leaves and come right over here and kind of fill in a hole a little bit. Use them as a filler. these may need a pick or a steel pick, or if you do not have a steel pick machine, you can use the green floral wooden stems. Like that, to have a little wire on the end. So if you don't have a pick machine and your wire and your florals are too weak to go through the foam, you certainly can use those picks. I'm going to go ahead and use the rest of this, my miniature roses. Came from Hobby Lobby. And I'm going to use this as an additional filler.
What time is that short window supposed to happen?
Okay, we have added some florals. Now, at this particular point, depending on what you want to design, look how easily, and I'm not going to add these, but look how easily you could add some accent color to that and make a whole new appearance. So just by taking a little bit of filler in a contrasting color can make a huge difference in how this looks. Just by adding that pop of color to it. All right, so let's set this aside for a moment and let's bring our bow out here. So our bow is actually going to be placed. The reason I didn't want to fluff this out is because once we get it into place, we're going to be moving it around anyway. But we're going to take this floral stick and we're going to attach it to the little wire. We're going to take our wire and wrap it around the floral stick so that we're attaching our bow to the floral stick. And then I'm going to take my wire that I used to make the bow and just wrap it around here a little bit more, give it a little bit some more security. Now, we may not need it this long, but we have the strength and the support if we need it that long. And I can tell you right now, I don't want it that long. So I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to cut about 1.5 inches, 2 inches off the bottom here. Did you see that sling across the table? And we're going to add this to the front of our design. I'm going to put a spot to glue on there. Make sure it's centered. And now we can fluff the bow. And at this particular point, now we can dovetail the ends of our ribbon tail, or whatever ends we want, or if we want to angle them, we can do that. We can curl them under. Actually, let me take a look here. I might do the angle. All right, there is our cute little rain boots in the Ladybug red and black with a little spot of white in there. And I think he turned out absolutely adorable. Don't be afraid to move your stuff around. It's wired. It's okay. If you don't like the way it works, if you've tried adding some florals and you don't like the way the placement of it, you can take it out and re-glue it. It's not permanent, but by gluing it down, it does make it more permanent so that your customer or you yourself don't have it falling apart, right? So I think he turned out adorable. Hey guys, thanks for hanging out with me on the video today. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you are not currently a member of our YouTube channel, please go back and follow us on YouTube at Festive Creations by Stephanie. Also, check out our website at festivecreationsbystefanie.com for a link to our Etsy shop and other wonderful, wonderful designs. Hey, thanks for hanging out. Have a great day.